Member of the state Senate is driven to serve in the Kentucky General Assembly by business, workforce development, and education needs in the state. Matt Nunn was elected to serve the 17th Senate District after Damon Thayer, who'd served for more than 20 years, retired. He talked with me recently about his motivation to seek elected office and what he hopes to accomplish. In this sit-down interview, that's part of our series on the Kentucky General Assembly's freshman class of 2025.
I ran for state senate because I'm raising kids in that district, running a small business there. It's very important to me that we had someone with conservative values, but also an ability to get things done. And I think my experience in the private sector and running a small business gives me that ability and experience to get things done for the people of the 17th District.
Yeah. Tell us about your small business.
So my wife and I own an Irish pub on Main Street in Georgetown. We just celebrated our 8-year anniversary back in August, which means we've been through some things, including COVID. Came out on the other side of COVID. And so again, this is experiences of opening a small business, making payroll every 2 weeks has taught me a lot about what those people go through. And I understand what that is. And so I understand how important that is to our economy overall. And so, again, I think that's going to help me in this role.
And as you just mentioned, of course, 8 years, you did survive a few of those during the COVID pandemic.
Yes,
you know, talk about those struggles and how that even informed you perhaps to have a political involvement.
Yeah, we absolutely did. And so we had to be very creative during that time to work within the rules that we were given to be able to operate and still turn a profit. It's always, you're always eking out a meager profit as a small business owner. So when you have anything restricting that, making it harder, it becomes very difficult. So to be very creative during that time. And then, I gained some, I guess you'd say, notoriety during that time because the business that we had, we're not serving our own food at the time. We were using food trucks. They used to be very popular, as you recall. And so after, I think, 65 days, restaurants were going to be allowed to reopen, but the governor was not going to allow bars, what we were classified as a bar, to reopen. And so, I just didn't understand how a plate of food sit in front of me or anybody else changed the risk of COVID. So I wrote a very respectful letter to the governor, and we put it on Facebook and got a few hundred likes and shares and comments. And so I think it was KYT came out and interviewed me, and I explained that same thing, and that reporter asked the governor in his daily press briefing the next day about the situation. He said, well, if they'll spread out and get a little bit of food, they can reopen. And so we bought a hot dog roller, and we were in business. And so, again, had to be creative and figure out how to work within the confines. And then after being open a few days, we were contacted by the state ABC, and they said, hey, make sure you're actually selling hot dogs, that they're not just there for show.
How did that experience kind of shape or maybe even reshape what you think government should be or should not be doing?
I've told people there's 5 things that have really shaped my view of government and the role of government, and that's one of them. First of all, opening the small business, just seeing all the things that we had to go through to pursue the American dream, to employ people, very challenging. And sometimes I thought unnecessarily challenging. But then during COVID, even more so. I understand that people made decisions based upon the information they had at the time. We didn't always agree on what those decisions should be, but again, just seeing how what I felt was government overreach was able to impact my small business and nearly bankrupted it was very challenging for me to accept.
Tell us about your military career. 21
years in the Kentucky Army National Guard. I enlisted right out of high school. I was a infantryman. Went to infantry officer basic. Went to OCS here in the state. Became a commissioned officer. Went to infantry officer basic course in Fort Benning, Georgia. My wife and I spent our first 4 months of marriage in Fort Benning, and I did that for a number of years. And then I ended my career as a military intelligence officer, working right here in Frankfort on the Adjutant General staff in the intelligence department of his staff. So I just want to make this a great place to raise a family, or help it continue to be a great place to raise a family. I think it already is. Particularly in the district that I'm representing. But so I'm raising kids here. Hopefully I have grandkids running around that district soon. So I'm here just to make sure that it remains a great place to raise a family and pursue the American dream as I have. I've lived the American dream the way I grew up. I never would have dreamed that I'd be sitting here out talking to you. And so just my background and being able to see how decisions and God's providence have led me to this place, I want to make sure that everyone has the same opportunity.
The business owner and military veteran has been assigned to serve on the Senate Licensing and Occupations, Agriculture, and Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protection Committees.